Good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and Periscope. Today is Monday, November 5th, 2018. Got a lot to talk about. So is this going to be a 5th of November that we're going to remember? Well, really, it's more like the 6th of November because tomorrow is really the big day. It's a day we've been waiting for nearly 2 years now since Donald Trump was elected. And everything about his presidency has been pushing towards that moment. So the question in front of us all now is, what price are we going to be willing to pay to restore some semblance of the republic, functional society, functional political discourse? I don't know, because I'm truly confused. And I say that because it's obvious now that we are headed for something different. This is not going to, we're not ever going to go back to where we were. Okay. And it was really kind of obvious after Trump was elected that that's where we were going to. That we were never going to go back to where we were before the election. The election was the bifurcation moment. I think we all knew that. I think we all understood that. So tomorrow is not going to be an earth-shattering occurrence. It's only going to either confirm the trend is accelerating in the direction away from cultural Marxism, away from the excesses of collectivism, or it's going to take some more time. We're going to find out whether or not the people of this country are okay with what Donald Trump has started. And he hasn't finished anything. He's only just started. My article today that I have laying out is called "What Price Crazy?" And this is, in my mind, an important article because it asks the most important question: what price crazy? The Democrats have gone nuts. The cultural Marxists have gone nuts. And can we be willing to continue the march away from where we've been to where we want to go? What society do we want? And do we have the stones? Do we have the fortitude to see this thing through to its conclusion? This is not a fight that's going to take another year or two or another administration. It's going to take a generation. There's a lot that has to be torn down. The swamp is deep. For years, when I was doing libertarian politics, I said, think of the entire problem as this giant plate of spaghetti. And you've got to disentangle the entire thing. And it's overcooked pasta, no less, so that as you pull on certain strands, they could break. And you could do harm. And that's where we are. And everything is interconnected in this important way. And in this multi-vector way. And you tug on one strand and it moves the pile another way. And how do you pull this thing apart? Maybe a better metaphor would be like Mahjong solitaire. You've got 144 tiles randomly aligned in a pattern, and you've got to somehow make pairs and pull them all off and make it all work. And you've got to do it right the first time. But tomorrow is a referendum on whether or not Donald Trump has started moving in the right direction. And do we want him to continue? I know the right feels this way. It's the center of the country that is the real question. So that's where we are. And that's the question in front of us tomorrow. What price? Crazy. Because the Democrats have gone crazy. The left has gone nuts. Period. There's no way of sweet talking this. They're not listening. They're talking violence. They're talking incivility. They're talking everything that they're supposed to not stand for. And they have become ideologically possessed with a utopian fantasy that they are the saviors of the world. And they believe their own talking points so thoroughly that it's at odds with tradition, culture, values, everything. This is what happens. This is what your society looks like when it has drunk too deeply from the well of envy. Because Marxism is nothing except a political ideology of envy. I believe they are scared to death. My wife and I were out on the porch earlier before I went live and sitting chatting, and she was catching up on watching clips of Tucker Carlson because she just finds Tucker Carlson to be a hoot. And one of Tucker's rants was about this. Like, does this sound like the rhetoric of people who are comfortable and confident? It's something I've been saying for weeks. Comfortable and confident that they're going to not only retake the halls of power, but that they're going to be that they're confident and they're comfortable. No, this sounds like people who are desperate and know they're losing. And even if they win some seats tomorrow in the House, even if they regain control of the House tomorrow, it won't matter. Because if you look at the trend, and the trend in America has been very clear since 1980, this country has been moving away from that at the electoral level, county level, at the state level, and at the House and Senate level. So we take that and we add to that an overclass, a political class, and an oligarch class that fuels this and fuels the division between the two sides in this. There's not really two sides. There's really multiple sides of this. But it's quickly becoming and hardening into two polar opposites, which is dangerous. Which is not what we want to have. We want to have a rational discussion about where we're going to go. There are solutions to these problems that both sides see. And the people who are stoking the violence, who are stoking the confrontation, they're the ones that need to be lynched. They're the ones that need to be taken down. They're the ones who are going to lose the most. Because when this thing comes crashing down, when the sovereign debt crisis fully takes hold, right? It's their assets that are going to deflate the most. It's their assets that are going to have to be, they're the ones who are going to lose the most wealth. And they're the ones who are going to lose the most power. And so that's where we are. And those on the left are willing to embrace whatever they can to regain power. Lindsey Graham said it best during the Kavanaugh hearings. He said, this is all about the naked grab for power. You guys want it back and you're willing to do anything to get it. And it just betrays the entire idea that they're doing this for our own good, that they're trying to save the world. You don't save the world by destroying people. You don't save the world by grasping on to the yoke of power and then bludgeoning people over the head with it. It's a thin veneer. When you listen to these people talk, I was listening to multiple, Tucker Carlson try to engage multiple leftists into an honest discussion of things, and all we have are talking points, and all we have are ridiculous, over-the-top rhetoric, and no desire to actually engage at any level. And he's just like, I'm not. Look, we're done. You're done. We're off the air because I'm not going to have that discussion with you. It's the same way I deal with trolls here in this channel. If you have a reasonable comment, I will entertain it. If you have a reasonable question, I will entertain it. If you're going to spout talking points at me, well, in the days of Periscope, I would just banhammer you because I wasn't going to listen to it. So it's not about specific issues. And I can see that Maggie's here tonight. Good evening, Maggie. It's good to see you. And I can see that you're now completely become a one-issue voter about the environment. Now you're going to tell me, who lives in Florida and you live in Europe, this is the presumption. This is the problem. And I'm going to use this now. You're going to tell me that it's all about the environment in Florida. It's not about the environment in Florida. Okay? It's not. That is not the issue. That's the issue that they've demagogued here in Florida to get leftists to the polls. But that's not an issue. Okay? By the way, the red tide that happens around here happens on a cyclical basis. It's been a little worse than normal? Yes. Is it the product of Big Sur? Yeah, I got news for you. Florida Democrats and Florida Republicans are both guilty of what's happening in South Florida. Everybody has had their finger in Lake Okeechobee for years, decades. This is not a problem that sprang up during Rick Scott's administration, for example. So the idea that we should reject Rick Scott over Bill Nelson when Bill Nelson's been presiding over this shit for 30 years. That guy ran as a blue dog Democrat back in when he got elected. I remember when he got elected. I lived here when he got elected. I remember what he ran on. Got news for you. His record looks nothing like it. And he's never upset the apple cart down there. So stow the virtue signaling about the environment that we're ruining the planet. Because I got news for you. We're not ruining the planet. So it is what it is. But it's a typical tactic. So it is what it is. Triggered. Maggie is now triggered. Toxic algae and red tide is not important. No, red tide happens every 7 years. It's a function of El Nino. It's not a function of what happens in Lake Okeechobee. So, but that's what everybody wants to they want to reduce everything to one little thing that they care about, when this is far bigger than that. We are talking about the decision as to whether or not we are going to unwind the biggest and most powerful organization that has ever strode the face of the earth in fits and starts, bit by bit, and depower the bureaucrats and the powerful. We're going to take their power away from them. We're going to get rid of that. It doesn't matter whether Donald Trump is actually going to affect all of that or not. He may not be able to. All he may be able to do in this time in office is to expose all the hypocrisy and give us the strength to say, yeah, that's not what we want, and go to the ballot box and vote on it, and continue to vote on it over and over and over again until eventually things change. Because here's the thing, like everything else, there's plenty that can be done at the executive order level. There's plenty that can be done at the not spending the money that Congress allocates. Remember that Congress allocates and the president spends. All Congress can do is allocate the money. You can't tell the government, they can't tell the president how to spend the money. So this is everything about whether or not we have the stones to take this and see it through to its conclusion. And they're going to throw everything at us. They're going to throw bullshit environmental arguments at us. They're going to throw bullshit racist arguments out of it. They're going to call us Nazis. They're going to call us every fucking horrible name in the book, period, without a doubt. They already have. Doesn't matter. The United States is going towards a very dangerous place culturally. So, and if we decide tomorrow to renege on our mandate that we gave Trump, then it will only make it harder. It would only drag the process out. Tomorrow's election is about the speed with which we make this change and how bad, how quickly we want to hit rock bottom and then move forward. Because if we do not hit rock bottom, if we draw it out, it will just be decades and another generation of awfulness. It is like the financial crisis again. It's the same thing we talk about in Austrian economics all the time. Keynesian countercyclical policy just papers over the malinvestment. It doesn't solve the underlying causes of the malinvestment. And therefore, you wind up just extending the malaise for another decade or two or whatever. And if you don't think I'm correct about this, go look at Japan. Japan hit its peak in 1989. The Nikkei has never reached anywhere close to that peak. There's a reason for that. Because the Japanese government would not allow the liquidation. Well, it's the same thing here. We have to liquidate our obsession with government. We have to liquidate and stop papering over the cracks in our society. That's what's coming. And so we can either make a fundamental break now with the political ideology that has dominated for the past century, or we can continue to muddle along, hem and haw, cuck out, whatever, however you want to put it. I don't give a shit. And we can stretch this out for another 10 or 15 years. The United States will slowly decline into the West. China and Russia and Central Asia will rise. And that's the end of that. Or we can get back down to brass tacks. We can get back to work. We can depower the fucking rent seekers. We can depower the money changers and the paper hangers. We can send all those people back to where they belong. We can take away their power because we're the ones ultimately who have the power. So the question is the culture of the United States changing, or for the better, or are we actually embracing all of this nutty cultural Marxist nonsense? Because if we're going that route, then this is going to look like the fall of Rome. And at some point, the holders of those that retain their culture in the society will welcome being invaded. Just like the outer colonies of Rome were welcomed being taken over by the barbarians. Because Rome had become so stifling, so tyrannical. Martin Armstrong talks about this all the time. That the farmers welcomed being taken over, being invaded, kicking the Romans out. That's what's going to happen to us unless we make this change now. Unless we reaffirm that this is exactly what we want and not, like Puxatawny Phil, see our shadow and then retreat into the hole for another 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years. I'm not asking the question as to whether we're going to do it or not. I'm not answering the question as to whether we're going to do it or not. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow night. I know how I feel. I know how I've structured my life. And I know how I've structured this YouTube channel and my blog and everything else. I know the example that I try to set. It may be vulgar, but it's the example I set. So now the question is, as I always say, what are you going to do about it? And are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to be hounded at your place of work? Are you willing to stand up and say and understand that many of you may lose your jobs because some little soy boy doesn't like you, the fact that you voted Republican? Are you going to keep your MAGA hat in your bedroom, never wear it in public? Are you going to go along to get along? Are you going to cuck out? Are you going to stand up to these people and say, shut up? I've had enough. Grown-ups are in charge now. Are you going to find a better way? Because that's what's coming. All right, let's open it up. A lot of comments so far tonight. Don't know what to talk about. WDM, there will be no substantive change as a result of the election. Only difference, distracting reality TV shows. The empire collapses, leeches sucking our blood, culture is long dead. Just look around. You may be right, dude. I don't think so. I think very sincerely that the spirit animating Trump's election was valid. And if you're so black-pilled as to believe that that is not the case, what are we doing here? Why is everybody why are people turning out by the 100,000 to go see Donald Trump talk? Not because he's perfect, because he's not. He's not even close to perfect. But there's plenty of culture left in this country. There's plenty of people who want a resurgence of culture. And I think that what we're seeing are the beginnings of what I was watching a YouTube of a guy, I think it was Reverend Steve Turley, talking about Russia and the resurgence, the tremendous resurgence of the Russian Orthodox Church in Russia. And he used the term retraditionalization. And I really like that term. Really like that term. And I think we're beginning to see we're seeing the beginnings of that. You have to understand that I come from the strong, traditional Lew Rockwell, Murray Rothbard wing of the Libertarian Party or the Libertarian movement. And these are people who feel very, very strongly. These are all Catholic anarchists. Very, very strongly. The society is built from the ground up and is built from a moral platform of refusing to be thieved from. And to identify identify all those opportunities and all those moments in your life where you are thieved from and remove them from your life as best you can, given the fact that we live in a fallen society where everybody has got a hand in each other's pockets, and we happen to call this stealing from each other, and we call that culture. We call that society. Arguing over the weekend or arguing yesterday about the function of money and whether money should be inflationary or deflationary or whatever. No, it should be founded on consumer sovereignty. It should be founded on the right of the people, of a person, to be secure that his savings is not destroyed by the issuer of a central bank issuing currency and counterfeiting and debasing his savings. Culture starts there. It starts with a statement of a staunch portion of the society that says, I will not be thieved from anymore. No, you will not steal my children. You will not steal my wealth. You will not steal my savings. Do I think the culture is still here but has a thin veneer over it? I think we're absolutely in a I think the culture is still here. I think there's a mess. I think there are certain parts of this country have no culture whatsoever. None. Zero. And I think places like Los Angeles and New York are going to have to be considered different countries at some point. Mega Hello says the 500,000 millennial men Reuters just reported who have given up and will not work. A generation of young men are refusing to contribute to a corrupt system. Okay. What are they going to do for themselves? How are they going to become fathers? How are they going to become husbands? How are they going to provide for their how are they going to provide the example for the next generation? The other side of that are the guys, as Jordan Peterson says, the guys who are going into college today and being reviled and being marginalized, being shit on and fucked over and refused to be given degrees. Guys like me, guys like my business partner and others. The shit started then. I was not given my degree because I was in the physical sciences. He was in history. And he had instructors. He had advisors who were not going, who fought his bachelor's degree. Because he was not a Marxist. It made him stronger. It made him harder. There's an entire generation of those guys behind us that are going to become frickin' Randian superheroes. They're coming. The ones who want to sit on their ass, don't want to work, fine. Build a different system. Jack out of the system. Build a parallel system. We voted for Trump, but then he put the worst venal creeps in charge of our government. Our only hope is not to be gaslighted into supporting this filth because Trump put them there. I agree. I don't like John Bolton or Mike Pompeo or the rest of it. I don't like a lot of these people. Drives me nuts. We'll see. We'll see how this works out. I don't know that it's going to work out or not. Fuck paying more taxes in Florida. Maggie, you can just take that. There's a reason why there are people here in Florida. I don't want to pay a goddamn more dollar in taxes. I just paid my property taxes for the year. People charge me $5 a day to live in a house I built on a land that I've improved. What the fuck does the state government give me? Sorry, I don't want to pay another goddamn dollar. It's not about paying taxes. It's like culture and society don't come from the government. The government is the antithesis of culture. It's the antithesis of society. It's the force by which people reach into each other's pockets and steal money from each other to give it to somebody else. Call it moral. Not moral. It's the exact opposite of moral. It's immoral. It's vile. The culture has been degraded by hedonism. It's sad that people don't see it. Hedonism is a function of a debt-based monetary system that ensures that tomorrow your money will be worth less than it is today because their goal is more money velocity. They state this flat out. They want the money to circulate. They don't want it to sit. They hate savers. They hate people who are thrifty. They want consumers to give up their sovereignty and just spend their money in a way that they can't get a decent return on their money. And so, well, fuck it. If it's going to be that hard to make fucking 2% in the market, I might as well just blow it on fucking crack and hookers. Fuck it. McDonald's hamburgers taste good. I'll buy some more of them. I know they're bad for me, but fuck it. I'm going to die anyway. The whole system breeds nihilism at every freaking turn. I try and work hard, and all they do was want to take more of my earnings in taxes. I use fewer. The more money I make, the more they want me to pay in taxes. Yet I still use the same number of services I did when I was poor. Doesn't make any sense. I'm not waiting for. I don't know what to wait for. I'm hoping that tomorrow's elections turn out the way I've been predicting they will, which is that they will give Trump a mandate to accelerate the process, get rid of and depower the establishment wing of the GOP, depower the neocon think tanks on K Street, depower all these people. Give him the input, give him the mandate to just start cleaning freaking house. Really cleaning house, not tinkering around the edges of it. But again, it starts slow and it moves up and it moves up. Atlas is going to shrug. Private floating cities in the works. This will mature. Atlas is already shrugging, dude. User 13. Men have been crapped on since I was in college. It was disgusting. She and I are, by the way, are of an age. So, yes, the stupid man trope on TV, which is now morphed into stupid white people. You're right. I mean, as far as these people are concerned, everybody is the Ed from Married with Children, whatever I can't remember his last name. But imagine that's what they think. They think we're all some cross between Archie Bunker and the guy from Married with Children. Am I going to be giving midterm prognostications? I don't. Yeah, the Republicans are going to have the House. That's as much as I'm going to say. I don't follow individual House races. I could give a shit. I think I have faith. I am a glass half full kind of guy. For all of my bitching and for all of my complaining, I am a glass half full kind of guy. I fundamentally believe there's a great awakening happening across the West. And the reinstitution of culture will happen, and the retraditionalization is just starting here in the United States, and it's fighting tooth and nail against the rot, the institutional rot of cultural Marxism, which is everywhere. Politics are downstream from culture. And roads do not have to be built by the government, and education does not have to be provided by the government. As a matter of fact, the government provides a shitty fucking education. It's a bad job of educating children. Very bad job. Did a bad job of educating me. I didn't learn a goddamn thing that was worth a shit until I left fucking school, until I started learning chemistry. And I ignored everything else. Decivilization due to present mindlessness, a la Hop. It's coming, yes. One of the biggest problems is international corporate oligopoly, including the banks and military-industrial complex. They steal your money. You're right. Yep. Say what you want about national socialism, dude. At least it was an ethos. See, the thing is, Maggie, that argument, Maggie says, well, I know your kids are good, but others no. But see, that's the problem. You don't trust that other people are any good. And I've heard that argument from liberals my entire fucking life. They're always scared of the guy over there. They're scared of the guy that they don't know and they don't respect. That's a bullshit argument. It's a bullshit argument. Just because you know me and you like me doesn't mean that there's not 100,000 other people out there that if you had a time to meet them all, you wouldn't find out that their kids are awesome and they're awesome people. I know lots of awesome people who are libs. It pains me to watch them go through the mental gymnastics and the intellectual gymnastics to justify their liberal. It pains me to watch it because it's so fucking illogical. It's so fucking stupid. It's so emotion-based bullshit. And it's immoral. And you watch these people who live a life of good and decent life of. They shoulder their loads. They go to fucking work. They do their shit. They do their thing. They raise their kids right. They do everything right. And then they vote goddamn Democrat. You listen to them talk politics and the most inane bullshit comes out of their mouths. That's in complete opposition to the way they actually live their lives. And they justify it by saying, yeah, but what about that guy over there who won't live a good life? Who the fuck are you to judge that their life isn't good? Al Bundy, thank you. Analyst stock. The only positive thing in Trump's presidency is that he's not a war hawk. True, the GOP will kill off the entire planet environmentally for a short-term profit of their corporate masters. You think the Democrats are any better? Let's split fucking hairs here. There's a change coming to the GOP. Trump is running a third-party insurgency within the GOP. Okay? He's not perfect. He's not Ron Paul. Okay? He's not even close to Ron Paul. He can barely, I mean, dude, seriously. Donald Trump is, isn't fit to wear Ron Paul's used jockstrap when the man was a professional athlete, for Christ's sake. Fuck that. Agreed. But there's a change coming to the GOP, and that's what we represent. That's what our votes represent. Trump is the messenger. He's the vessel. He's going to make mistakes. 2 parts shitlord, 3 parts shitbag. Maybe after the midterms, he'll be 3 parts shitlord and 2 parts shitbag. That'd be a change. It'd be a good change. I'll go with it. We don't see WDM. They already want us to believe that there's not a democracy. He says, unfortunately, the day may come when we realize we do not have a democracy, so we simply do away with Congress. They want to do away with elections. What do you think the caravans are all about? What do you think the illegal immigration is all about? It's about turning the Electoral College permanently blue, so that we don't have to have elections. We can have elections the same way they have elections in the European Union, where they vote in a bunch of MEPs, but they don't actually pass legislation. They only provide advice to the oligarchs and the technocrats who run the European Union. They don't actually have to listen to anything the European Parliament says. Government education is basically indoctrination and job training for corporations. Be a good drone. Absolutely. The Manhattan School tradition. We had the best educational system in the world until they decided they wanted to, they wanted to turn people into mindless corporate drones. Robert Barnes, who correctly predicted Brexit and Trump, is betting big on Republicans keeping the House and expanding the Senate. Maggie, do you know how many people do you know how many unintelligent people there are in this world relative to me that go out every day and work harder and make more money than me? And raise better kids than I do? I meet them all the time. I live in the rural South, the very heart of stupid white people and marginally educated black people. And you want to know something? All of them that I've met, people. Their kids are polite. They work hard. They love their families. They work for their families. They bust their asses every day doing jobs that you and I wouldn't fucking do in a million years. The fact that we have the ability to sit here, there's 57 of you in the stream tonight, which, by the way, is a new record. 57 of you in the stream tonight. We're having this conversation built on technology that is maintained by guys that you just shit all over 6 times. That without them, we don't have this conversation. As Jordan Peterson says, the fucking electrical grid, it works in the morning. It's a goddamn miracle. It is a goddamn miracle. That's what we're voting for tomorrow. The recognition and the understanding of that. For every soy boy, there is a free market son coming up these days. Dude, the millennials are so much more hip to the ideas of voluntary exchange than my generation ever was. I don't understand how people can distrust strangers but trust the government, which is a known group of psychopaths. Exactly. Changing it from within doesn't necessarily work. I like the idea. I love the fact that Trump has been able to run the third-party insurgency, which I never expected to happen. I always said, no, it would never work. And it's working. He's doing what the Koch brothers said destroyed the Libertarian Party trying to do, turn them into the GOP light. And he just went, oh, fuck that. Turn the GOP into the LP light. That's the better way of going about it. And he was right. I've read Trump is preparing a withdrawal from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. How much resistance will he come up against? From his cabinet? A lot. From the neocons? A lot. From the media? A lot. From the Democrats? A lot. From the Obama wing of the Democratic Party? A lot. From Soros? A lot. From Israel? A lot. Will he do it? Flip a coin. I'm hoping. I think after the midterms, we have, if we give him the mandate to do it tomorrow, then that coin is weighted heads, not tails. And we won't come a cropper. The worst always rise to the top. Blue capitalists, you're right. That's why you need to depower governments. Why we need to get rid of the power within government. Government should not have this kind of power. Problem with money in politics is that there's money in politics. Defund the government, depower the government. The paper hangers and the fucking lobbyists and the fucking rent class, they all have to go out and get honest jobs. Guys like Soros don't get to go out and don't get to go out, create legislation that allows him to go out and bomb the fucking currency markets, make a cool few $1 billion to then seed right back into destroying the fucking culture. That's how it works. The guy's never built anything or anything of value in his entire life. He's never earned money by doing anything other than preying on people. He's never built a business. He's a vampire. And there are thousands like him. For every George Soros, there's a Paul Singer. Maggie is commenting on Periscope. Wealth creation is miraculous in spite of. This is the funny thing. When I first became a libertarian, I was vaguely lefty in my thoughts because, well, you know, economically speaking, I wasn't given any other training. But then as I began to understand what was happening, it was the day I was reading something on Lou Rockwell one day, and I probably something from Gary North because the guy was fucking brilliant at just calling a spade a spade. And it was really obvious at that point when I had my first big light bulb moment. I went, holy shit, how awesome are people? Look at what we've built. Look at the things that we've built in spite of all of this friction, all of this theft, all of this thievery, all of this crap. That's been all of these obstacles that are placed in front of us, and we still do amazing things. Now, we could do more amazing things if these fuckers would just get the hell out of our way. Joanne Leone, the key to all of this is finding common ground. Stop listening to the so-called elites, their failures, and stop taking the bait to fight each other. Work together, find something we can all live with. Exactly. There's plenty of common ground. I say this all the time. Specify the problem. We all specify what the freaking problems are. Where we fail is implementation. That's where the politics meets the road. That's where the rubber meets the road in politics, right? Specifying what the problem is, most people would agree, yeah, fuck those assholes in Washington. Okay, now what? How are we going to deal with that? Liz Sandy, you're my kind of woman. Stacking wood by headlamp while I listen on my iPhone. High-tech prepper types for Trump. Yeah, I like to call myself a techno hippie. Right? The level of corruption has risen to an unsustainable level. Joanne Leone. Cronyism doesn't promote competent people. It's a downward spiral. Yeah, now you're talking Ayn Rand here, love. Now you're just talking. This is just Act 3 of Atlas Shrugged. Trump's delegitimization of the scumbag media will make him one of the top presidents in history. And more. 63 people. This is absolutely the biggest stream of all time. I'm amazed. I adore you guys. Fantastic. Soros is awful. Saudi Arabia is awful. Yemen, what they're doing in Yemen, awful. I've heard rumors that Trump is pulling support for the Saudis' war in Yemen. Heard a lot of things recently. Nothing really confirmed. But I also know that the Saudis are. I know from Elijah Magnier that the Saudis are no longer paying for the Wahhabist animals in Syria anymore. That's stopped. That funding has stopped. They have decided to stop doing that. So that's a good thing. And maybe that's part of the reason why they went after MBS so hard. I don't know. All the crap amendments in the state constitution we have on the ballot and here in Georgia are insane, using conservative conservation and water preservation to amend the Constitution to allow private land seizures. Camille and I went over the no less than 13 amendments to the Constitution that are on the ballot in Florida, half of which I have to vote against because they did bundling of good ideas with bad ideas. So I'm not going for. I have to just put my libertarian hat on and go, nope, sorry. 1 out of 3 is bad. It's all bad. Nope. Yes. I mean, there's some very good ones on the ballot. But yeah. People like Khodorkovsky and Browder, both are parasitic vipers, have literally made legislation in the U.S. government and other governments. This has to be stopped. I agree. There should be no vector for people like them to exert their power over the world and to destroy the lives of millions of people around the world. It absolutely needs to end. And the latest victims of their bullshit are 80 million Iranians. Interestingly enough, Trump issued 8 exemptions to countries to continue buying Iranian oil. Oh, by the way, something else I just saw on RT before I went live. Not sanctioning the civilian nuclear program for nuclear power plants in Iran, which the Russians are building for Iran. That's a human sign. Not good that the sanctions are back in place because they're terrible and they're acts of war and all that other stuff. But silver lining, give credit where credit is due, better than Obama. And you know sure shit that Netanyahu is pissed to no end and that Sheldon Adelson is pissed to no end because those guys want Iran ground into the ground. They want them ground into dust and destroyed. Okay? That wing of Israeli politics has to end. Has to end. No one's a great fan of Iran, but at the end of the day, whose business is it of it ours? And where do we get off deciding from our moral high ground that we should decide how these people should live? This is the fundamental hubris of 99% of American politics that needs to be gotten rid of. Just truth. I pray to God I won't have to be a refugee from the United States like I was from Cuba 56 years ago when Castro took power and forced my family to flee. That I did not know about you, Just Truth. I have a friend who's also a Cuban immigrant. Good friend of mine. Excellent friend of mine. Also a Marxist, unfortunately. So. MG Stoyanovich, House of Saud has been given supposedly 30 days to finish in Yemen, I've read. God, I hope you're right. Stan Minchow, my state will be sending Romney, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it, I know. To replace Orrin Hatch, of all people. I was never a huge Orrin Hatch fan, but, he's 100 times better than Romney. How in the heck can we expect to peacefully take back the trillions the insiders looted from us? We can't take those trillions back. We can just stop the flow in. And they will spend most of those trillions trying to stop us from stopping the flow. That's how That's why I keep saying that Soros will wind up broke. And at some point, if Trump sanctioned MBS shaking down the Saudi royal family last year for a whole bunch of money to cover the Saudi treasury, sounds like a model to me. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying, not that I actually do agree with it, because these people are fucking thieves and they should be. And libertarian justice theory says an eye for two eyes and a little bit of scaring. So you stole $40 billion from us, George. Will you owe us 80? And we get to hang you up over the Washington reflecting pool and be scared to death by dogs, rabid pit bulls. Okay, how in the heck do we... I was at the doctor's office today, says the Clarkster. Waiting area is crowded, maybe 50 people. Guy came in and yelled, "Hallelujah, hope everybody is voting Republican tomorrow." And the crowd cheered him. Where are you, by the way? I'd love to hear where that actually happened. If that's in a blue county, I would love to hear that. Trump does seem certain that the Republicans will keep the House and the Senate. I think so. I love Trump, but the only good thing Obama did was take sanctions off Iran. I agree. It's one of the few things I agreed with Obama about. I used to argue with my neocon friend of mine all the time. He would never admit that he was a neocon, but he was reflexively Jewish, and he hated Iran with a passion, and he liked Charles Krauthammer. And I'm like, dude, stop trying to sugarcoat it. You and I disagree on foreign policy about a great many things. You're a neocon. When I push your buttons hard enough, you're a neocon. Okay. And Iran is better than the Saudi head choppers. I'm sorry. If I have to choose between the two of them, I'm choosing the Iranian mullahs over the Wahhabist head choppers every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Shiites over Sunnis. A third Clinton presidential run would be funny as hell, says Zoltan Bakos. Sorry. Can you imagine the level of trolling on social media? Oh, dude. Hillary, please run. With tears in my eyes, please run. I need a good laugh. I need more. Notice there have been no Israeli airstrikes on Syria since the S-300s went in. Awesome. Thank you, Russia. Exactly as I said. Why can't Trump sanction Soros' funds now? Because Soros is still protected, and there's not an attorney general in the United. We don't have a functioning attorney general, and we don't have a court system that would back it up. Southern District of New York would just unfreeze his funds. Thordoom, the reason that Iranians lean towards hardliners is because of the U.S. Iran has a huge young population, and if they would be left alone, change would come naturally and organically the way the Iranians want it. Exactly. This is why the sanctions are actually a very bad idea. But again, what are you going to do? Topeka, Kansas. Okay. Thank you, Clark. So Clark walked into the doctor's office in Topeka, Kansas, and got cheered on by a bunch of Republicans. God, I really kind of wish that was West Palm Beach. It's going to be bad for the next few election cycles, there's no doubt. Hollywood is going to reassess if the Republicans win. They're going to have to. Remember, at the end of the day, this is one of the things I want to remind people about. People get up and they got their ass about Disney and all of this stuff. Like, Disney caters to a lot of people. They cater to Republicans. They cater to Democrats. They cater to Libertarians. They cater to everybody. They write stories, right? And I have no problem with Disney selling stories to various people. What I have a problem with is wrapping archetypal stories around propaganda. So things like Finding Dory, which was unbelievable propaganda, and Frozen. Those are the movies I have a real problem with. I don't have a problem with vague lib veneer on my Star Wars because Star Wars is still fundamentally Star Wars, even in the hands of people like J.J. Abrams and Kathy Kennedy. It's not about that. So, just to remind everybody that Hollywood isn't monolithic. Now, a lot of the people who are in charge in Hollywood are, but they're going to learn that, once you hit them in the pocketbook, all these people care about is making money. They're not ideologues. Some of them are. I mean, the aging baby boomers like Meryl Streep and De Niro and Alec Baldwin and the rest of them, they're the fucking ideologues. They're also way past their prime, and they're on the other side of their careers. They don't give a shit. They've made their millions. They've made their peace, and now they get to be didactic spokesmen. This is what baby boomers do, and they're very good speakers, so they can be persuasive. I heard somebody theorize that if HRC ran in 2020, Hillary Rodham Clinton, that she would go scorched earth on all the Democrats. Well, that'd be great. By the way, 71 people in the stream right now on YouTube. Unbelievable. So pleased. We're at 55 minutes. Oh my God, this thing has gone quick tonight. It's amazing how quick time flies when you're having fun. It's Tuesday here in Australia, so I can tell you the future looks good. Oh, okay. Rather see Hillary wearing pinstripes in 2020. I don't know, man. I love watching her come out and think that she's going to win by coming out dressed like Kim Jong-un. It's funny. Soros also keeps a lot of his funds hidden in offshore and shell companies. This is North on 60, i.e. it's untouchable unless the world gets together and to end these hard people. Now, the other thing is also that like Open Society Foundation now has all of this, but you can stop the flow of funds by just keeping Open Society Foundation from being able to function here in the United States. That'd be fine. Cut off whatever access they have. Because the Democrats are going to become the party of the hardcore progressives, and she's not a hardcore progressive. She's a neoconservative corporatist. The nuclear plants that Optalisk is asking, the nuclear plants that Russia is building in Iran, isn't nuclear energy cleaner than many other forms? It depends on the reactor type. All these old Gen 1 reactors like the one at Fukushima and here in the United States, those old GE design Gen 1 plants are all terrible. They're all bad designs, and they need to be sunsetted and they need to be removed. The Russians are not. The Russians' Gen 3 and Gen 4 reactors are amazing. And yes, they are really clean. So, all right. Relatively speaking. Oh, they're Finding Dory and Frozen are both horrible anti-archetypal leftist propaganda. They're vile. Just really bad. So Noam Chomsky said, there's an easy way to stop terrorism. Stop participating in it. Yeah, like don't vote Democrat anymore. Literally, stop being a Marxist. Now, you want to stop terrorism? Stop being a Marxist. That'd be good. Embrace the non-aggression principle, people. Embrace it. It's a beautiful thing. It also comes with a terrible responsibility and a lot of trust. Trust is in short supply right now. That's where we are. I was pleased to get a call today from Herschel Walker supporting Kemp for governor. That's great. Yeah, Herschel's doing good work. Nate Silver softly admitted the Democrats aren't guaranteed to take the House. Well, it's too bad he doesn't have it up on his web. You wait. Tomorrow morning, that guy's going to have the numbers like drop to like 70% that the Democrats take the House, maybe 65%. You wait. He did the same thing in 2016. On the day before the election, Hillary's a 90% chance to win. And then that morning, when nobody was looking at his site, he had her down to 58%. So he had plausible deniability so that they could use it as a talking point when we came back at them later on. Nate Silver is, he's just bad at math. He's good at math, but he's bad at math. He's a classic. He's no different than all the economists over at the Fed, using faulty models to make bad predictions. All right. That's a show. It's 59 minutes in, and I've got some stuff to do tonight. I mostly took the day off other than to read and stuff. I didn't do any writing, and I've got stuff I've got to get done before tomorrow, because tomorrow's a big day. I have to go vote. The lines are going to be out the fucking door. It's going to be crazy. So, and then I got a stream tomorrow night at 10:30. We'll be on here live Gold Goats and Guns, we'll do the election breakdown stuff. By then, most of the polls will be closed, and we'll know how things are going. So, if I had the power to get rid of one thing in this world, what would that be, Tom? The poppy fields in Afghanistan. And the CIA fuckers who run them. It's been the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on on YouTube and Periscope. My name's Tom Luongo. If you like what you heard tonight, give a like and subscribe down below. That would be awesome. Also, click the little bell for notifications to know when I go live, which is on Monday nights at 8 p.m., plus or minus 5 minutes, because this is not a professional thing, or Friday nights at 8:30. And, every election day, every 2 years on Tuesday nights. You can follow my work over at goldgoatsandguns.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Gab, which is, by the way, back up online. Yay! At TFL1728. And you can support my work over at Patreon at patreon.com/goldgoatsandguns. And of course, if you want to make a donation or something along those lines, my PayPal address is TFL1728@live.com. Or you can make a donation of crypto on my website. You guys have a great night. You take care. You be well. Keep your stick on the ice.